the end of last year presented by Lisa Heckel. Did anyone do that? Okay. I want to give reference to that just because I borrowed a few of her slides. Parents found that the presentation that she gave was very engaging, and that's why Tracy asked that I bring it back this year. We have a lot of new families here. How many of you are new this year? A bunch of you. Okay. Well, welcome. Mr. Graham, thank you. How many new students do we have in the program?
There's a few. I don't even know.
Last count I had was over 100 between K to 8. 110, something like that. So we have a lot of new kids, new families here. As a counselor, I don't think of any issue that is more prominent in my work than the issue of helping people through changes. And of course, as you are moving, you're very presently engaged in that transition. And some families go through it very smoothly, it seems, and others have a very rocky time, or individuals in the family have a rocky time, and then it's rocky for everybody. And so the moving is probably the biggest single factor, certainly at the beginning of the year that I deal with. But throughout the year, counseling is about helping people through changes. And I thought it would be just nice just to have a little time to talk to you about some of the things that I think are important in dealing with change. So, my topic, it's not transitioning, so unless I'm pushing, maybe I already pushed the wrong button. There we go. Change is, we live with it all the time, and so it's not such a big deal until it's a big deal. Who we are, our experiences that we've had, really contribute to what it's going to look like for us on our journey. So the experiences that we've had as a child, the recent experiences that we've had, all contribute to the present moment of how we're dealing with it as it comes to us. How do we know if we or our child is in trouble? I think that's the guts of what I want to get to today. And how do we get through those difficult times with the best we can be? To bring resolution to it. And then want to find out what else you were thinking about when you came. Okay, so my background, coming from Minnesota 100 years ago, is social development and social work. And the whole thing back then was we want to change systems to better meet people's needs. It was very revolutionary in the 70s to do that. So revolutionary that this program was kicked out of the university after 3 years because the administration couldn't deal with it. But it gave me a really good start because I was a bit of a rebel and I needed to have that opportunity to challenge things that I didn't like. I didn't like the American political system so bad that I left. And for 25 years I've been on the international circuit. And I'm not any more proud now than the political system. My master's work was mostly in educational psychology, which has to do with just understanding how the mind works in relationship to its learning. And that was a very engaging time for me. A couple of years spent with very intense self-reflection as well as trying to understand what we're doing in education, why we're doing it. And so that was sort of set me on my course. I didn't know I was going to do school counseling until I started doing things like chemical dependency treatment and group homes and things. And then I thought I would rather work in a normative place where there's a balance of people in all aspects of their thing. And so schools became a place that really I gravitated to. And so I've been doing this for a long time. So I wanted to give credit. Lisa Heckel was a counselor, a parent of our school, who was a very good resource for many families here. She left at the end of last year. So she's the lady I referred to about during the transition workshop last year, so I grabbed about 5 of her slides. Before we get into this, I'd introduce change in general. Is there something specific that you're hoping to hear today, of course, that you would like us to talk about? Something else? Okay. It's very informal, so if at any point you want to jump in and share your experiences, please do so. This is placed here to me for 6 years. It was in Qatar before coming to Singapore, before coming to here. So Qatar is a place of rapid change, and I'm going to spend quite a few slides on that because it's very apropos. Change happens in many ways, and where are my slides are not showing up. Some change is very predictable, but happens very slowly. So here's an edifice that's been here for more than 2,000 years. It's in the process of change, and we just accept that this is what happens. This has a slow life cycle to it. So there's nothing that ruffles your feathers on it. It's all expected. There's other types of change that's very creative and planned. Technology, advancements, all the stuff that goes on around us that we contribute to, some of which our neighbors contribute to and do, and to our liking or not. And so some of that starts to irritate us, causes some tension. And then there's, of course, the dilemmas of life that often are surprise us. We weren't expecting it. Much more challenging to deal with for you and for those whom you manage. So how we deal with change, again, that reflects all the things that brings all to the surface, all the things that we've experienced, some of the things that are underneath. You know, when I became a parent, all the parenting issues, the different challenging issues that coming from different systems comes to the fore when you and your spouse differ on what we should do with the situation. And so it really brought to the front how what I was taking for granted before really could be challenged by somebody's totally different approach to something. So my story a little bit more. Where we are born makes a difference. It sets you on your life course, bringing within it generations of something. And those early years, formative years, are really important. So I came from a place very different than here. This is what my place looks like for about 5 months of the year.
Wow.
Too long. But my family, after moving me through 6 different schools, settled when I was in the 6th grade into this family house. And so that's been the family house for 50 years. So I was a product of a lot of change and then a lot of stability in terms of geography. I'm the only one of 7 kids that ever left, so I don't understand why they're still there. So the conditions of climate, I think, and those formative years are very contributing. I think play, the type of play that we have in life, establishes a lot of traditions, likes, dislikes, puts you on a path of choosing where can I enjoy my life mostly. And we try to get to that, to add comfort to our lives when we're not too busy doing everything for everybody else. Parents are very, I think we get lost sometimes in what we want because you're so giving in this time of your life when you've got kids that are tugging on you every moment for what they need. So your family origins are really important. There's my dad and sister, very different than what you see around here. And there's eventuates choices that you make. Now, I thought I was going to stay around Minnesota for a while. And even when I left internationally, I thought I'd be going back there. now I know very clearly that I'll never live here again. I don't want to experience a Minnesota winter again. But I do enjoy the 2 months of summer. And so I still have my little cabin by the river. One of the things that helps prepare me for change in life is the forced changes that naturally occur in seasons. And if you grow up in a place where you have seasonal change, those changes force you to get ready for the next season coming. You know, we spend our summers rushing in the farm to make the hay, get it in the barns, get it ready for winter, and the freezing that's coming. So you got to get the pipes all ready so they don't burst. You know, it just forced you all the time to get ready for the next day. And I think that helps me deal with change because I live with it. I think people that live here, and you have a more even geography and climate, you aren't as used to being forced to change. You get into patterns of predictability, and unless the waves are coming, a big storm or something, you're pretty relaxed about how it's going. Okay, so we all come from very different places. I'd like you, just at your tables, for the next few minutes, just talk about your story a little bit, about where you're from, what changes you are going through, or you sense are important in your life now. So introduce yourselves at your table, and take about 5 minutes for that.
It was difficult when I first started. The changes don't always come when you shift country, but then when you have setbacks as you live through your life in another country at a certain space of time. I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like the agendas are always up. And I just sort of just loving the challenges. And then when the challenges come and it sets you down, so that's life. So I'm here today in Malaysia, in Europe, in China, but it's very much developing in Shanghai, in India for 8 years, and now I'm in Sri Lanka. So it's been a lot of cultural changes as well. The good thing or the bad thing is I don't feel like I belong anywhere anymore. I don't yet I feel like I can be a Canadian. I can sort of, it's so much easier for me, and that's what I'm trying to instill in my daughter.
Well, for me, not change in my life. It's a big change now that I learned because I am Latina. I am father, I was part of the and I left my country probably 13 years ago. We've been changing
different, maybe 30 different agencies. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Then I got fed up. I just stopped the agency, tried to doing my own business at home. Now I'm working at home. So it's different feeling when starting music. Just to left that's what I been taught how to before we moved to Sri Lanka. We try to prepare months for it. And first our son don't want to drop it up 2 months. You just ignore it. One night, okay, I go with you. One condition. There's an implant.
How old is he?
It told me this paper. You don't have to copy it honestly with the bar. Then you have connect him to the business, but he can still the spot and that's fine.
That changes everything. How old is your son here?
15.
15. And that's very hard. And it's a bit more difficult.
So that's a small and then the harder 5 years old is quite easy. He was very flexible and flexible.
We could do more time. Just 15 years old.
Okay, one more minute.
Like in our situation, we come from all these situations. My husband's from California, so my daughter is in Philadelphia. There's a much of everything, and we really try to celebrate the differences, and yet make it also in unison. So I think in that case, for the little girl, she's so used to multicultural, multi-religious, multi-environment situation. She's able to, I find that in her, so that's the good thing. But there is always, still the challenges that we
Okay, I'm going to try
Okay. Anyone at your table like to tell us in general kind of what kind of changes your table talked about? What kind of change are you people going through?
We had an interesting point here that Lisa made where they deal with their own things, but her daughter has got her Constance, in America, all of that, and that's changed where they're not even a part of it, which it affects you or your family, which is quite a, think of that, You always say, it's us and you don't realize how other things can affect.
More challenging.
Yes.
Did you want to say more about that?
No, it's basically, we have two countries. Time with any one family, so we kind of have to always divide our families. So it's really important that in each place, we've instilled that, this is always, you always have this to come back to, and always have this to come back to. And we kind of, in moving, we always kind of highlighted those constants, our home, our school, our family. And so, last year in Italy, her school, after 30 years, decides to close down. So all of her friends were, and that disappeared right away. And so that was kind of the first constant that went away. And then this past weekend, my brother got a job in another city, still in the same country, but on the opposite coast. And my niece, who's her very best friend in the world, broke it to her, and it was devastating, because that's her house when you go back to the States, and they spend all their time together. And so, as much as, we'd already talked about next summer, and they'd already had their plans and what they're going to do and where they're going to stay, and so that's kind of rough. So it's not just being here, it's just being here.
Out of your control.
Out of my control, but things that have been sort of our kind of foundation for
Yes.
it's okay to move, because that's always going to be.
gives you security. While you're other places.
And I think the lesson in that is there's never any constants. You know, you've got to, and I suppose these are lessons that the kids will learn and we learn as we go. But things change and you need to be able to adjust to them. But that's how.
Other tables? Anything you want to highlight? Yes.
Yes, I got the experience with our kids. The oldest is 15 to 16 years old, and the smallest is 5 years old. And it's funny because for us the change is not only the situation, but the most important of that is how to feel, to get the feeling for the cultural difference. That's why everywhere I try to get the contact with the local. And the problem is with our son, at 15 years old, there's no chance. He doesn't like to get contact with the neighbor, the local, because they're totally different view of. But with the woman, with the Hannah, she tried to speak Sinhalese with the other children, and I hope I'm right that this kind of practice can help her to adapt to her new circumstances. And the other way I try to help the auntie, our sons, is to push them to observe the thing, how to get the food, how to find the store local, how to find the druggery, how to find the gas, how to find that means you have to look after every single shop on the street, how to get the ATM and how to, and I think it's work because as you know, both of children doesn't speak English at all. And they got really troubled in the first month. And I know it's looked quite okay, but with the boy it's still unsurvived. But with the small, it was quite happy.
Yeah. Well, we're going to touch on some of those issues. The biggest thing I think to bring up is the developmental difference between a child and an adolescent. And one of the handouts directly deals with that. And then sometimes that's in conflict with your goal as a parent, what you're hoping to give your child, they're not receiving sometimes. And so there's tension there too. It's like, you know, when I brought my son to here, he was 8th grade. He said, "Dad, you've ruined my life." And it took him 6 months to stop saying that. But when he was in 10th grade, I said, "Okay, you can finally go back to Australia." It's like, "No, I want to stay." Anything else you want to say from your tables?
I guess I'm sort of here to understand, in our family situation, my son is 7.5, and this is the 5th country we went to. So the only constant he's ever had in his life is us. Everything has changed around him. And he's, we've gone through a few transitions this year because we moved 2 countries. He's had recent changes, and we lost my father earlier in the year. So he's generally a really happy, outgoing, funny, kind of boisterous guy. But sometimes I want to make sure that we're not missing the signs that there's something going on that he's covering up into something else.
Yeah, there's usually reasons for being.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you have some questions in the meantime.
Yeah.
How to handle that?
Exactly.
Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so this is a pretty different place. And so it was a stark change for us when we moved there, and we experienced it. Soon after moving there, I went to this museum there. and learn about the history. Now, have any of you been to a Middle Eastern country or lived in a Middle Eastern country? You know, the only thing that existed pretty much in Doha before 20 years ago was pearl divers in the summer and nomadic shepherders coming through with camels and sheep and things. So this place was in rapid transition. So the museum told a quick story. It wasn't very much history, and so in the museum they have things like this that they collected a long time ago, and very rapidly they had the best, the most money that you could ever imagine. And so this is, you know, the car show I went to 5 years ago. Those, I had a hard time living alongside the country people who were in transition themselves, because we were trying to bring a Western education. The Queen had created this education city with schools and universities, the best you could find in the world of regular professors there. And then while the kids are there in their hijabs and all the dress, the parents are going through this huge transition. They're like, what do you like? Family problem with the kids in Western education, because they're thinking it's the best thing to get involved with the world and business opportunities and things. So we were in constant flux, having discussions with the parents about what we were doing, teaching them the way we were, putting boys and girls in the same classes, talking about things that, you know, had music, and they were, you know, much of the Muslim religion is pretty anti-music, entertainment. And so we were in a real opportunity to talk about cultural shift and change. And so some families continued to choose it, and others went back to their local schools because it was just too much. But the change that I'm thinking about, if you go from pearl diving and nomadic life in one generation to this, the kids don't have a real concept of what the parents were ever did. And the parents have no idea what the kids are about now. So most of us are living a much slower transition of change. This, I think, it's one of the best pictures I have. And this is the old fishing dhows in the water here. And this is the new emerging city. What they call the Corniche. Those, you know, the history is just steeped in visiting some of the fishermen there. And then as these things were popping out of the ground, and it's not like a normal place that I come from, the most expensive design, architectural features, things like that were coming, you know, there was no middle place. It was, let's see who can do the biggest, best, most spectacular presentation. And there was only 70,000 country people in the whole country. And you'll find out there are 200,000 Sri Lankans helping them build their city. Just Sri Lankans. So in less than 10 years, this is what it was like when I left there. And so some people call it the Little Dubai. And it's got, well, you know, if you ever get a chance to fly through their airport, it's just incredible. So these boys from here leave their families to go over there, and they work for almost nothing. And they get about $1.50 a day for working out in extreme conditions. They don't get to go out of their housing usually. So what I would do is I'd get my vehicle and I'd go get a few from the camp and take them out on some Sundays or Friday's their holy day, so it's the day I usually took them out. So they did some incredible things for that country, and Qatar has a rule that if you move there, you can never live there. You are always a transient person, and as soon as they want you out, they send you out. You don't get any rights to reside there. So that's just a different experience that I've been through, and I wanted to just relate it because it's specific to Sri Lanka, the story that I had. And that's why I'm here today, is because I met some of these beautiful people working there, and interfaced with them, learned that I knew more Sri Lanka was. So now I'm really happy that I've discovered this place, and I'm here and hope to stay all the time. So, moving on to what's this all about? I want you to know what an adjustment disorder looks like, so that you would know what kind of a challenge could bring you to the point of saying, you know, it would be helpful for me to talk to somebody else or have my child talk to someone else. I think that's a question that I would have if I was in your place. And what are the factors? What makes kids more resilient or vulnerable in our lives, and how much of that can we control? If there's something that you can do, you would want to do it for your family. So this, everything is not scientific and mathematical, but this is my mathematical equation. Thought of it 2 days ago. All change is about opportunity and loss, gain and loss. It's always good as bad in everything we do. And so I thought, if you add the two together, what you have is still confusion, and I call that loose change. Through all change, you have grief. Letting go of the things that you wanted, that you no longer have, that you can't have, that you wish you could have. And so we all experience different aspects of the grief cycle. Sometimes we get stuck in one of them, and that's a constant issue. It's like, why did I get stuck in my anger? Why am I angry and I don't really know why? Or I feel the tension all the time. Sometimes you have to go back and unhook from something that keeps you there. One of my fellow therapists asked me yesterday, why do I hold a grudge? No, you have to do a little bit of research. Why can't you let that go? So these things, for children, seem to be able to unhook more rapidly than adults and move through some of these. Some people go through grief stages very quickly, just as uniquely different as we are. And others need to process much more slowly. And if you rush through it too quick, sometimes you'll get thrown back into it later on because you needed to do it. There's work involved in processing through difficult times. And if you don't take your time and resolve it, you'll let that haircut go in. If you hurry through it, oh, I'm just going to accept it and get on with my life. It works for a while. It's a short-term fix, and then later on you're going to get thrown back into the other place that you didn't deal with, most likely. Or you can just run and hide most of your life. A lot of people do. Don't want to deal with that. No. We don't talk about like politics. We just don't talk about it. So an adjustment disorder is a short-term condition. So it just means you're just stuck there for a bit, and you can get out of it fairly rapidly if you work on it. When a person's unable to cope with or adjust with a particular source of stress. Simple as that, but very complicated. I would say that the risk factors, these are the ones I brainstormed. I think the more times you move, the more opportunities for more complicated problems to happen. On the other hand, on the gain, you become, and we'll talk about some of those, there's obviously gains you're giving your families. and again, uniquely applied, a family of 4 or 5, everybody's going through it except one kid, and then just cannot make the change, and the whole family needs to go back to America because it just isn't working. And so, no matter what we talk about today, it's not a general prescription for everybody at all. Every child and every person deals with change differently. There is a lot of more emotion in children. The older we get, the more we kind of turn off those emotional valves and become more practical and the state in behavior and thinking. So the kids are more easy to deal with emotion. Our family systems are very different. In a chaotic family system, you add another element of concern, challenge for children, that element of unpredictability. If we have dependent relationships, that means if you develop a relationship with your children where they have to rely on you for all of their decision making, and you stay in control and you make the decisions, that somehow gives you a sense of control and comfort knowing that you're doing it. That can cause a problem, because what we really want to do is give them more power and independence and security, let them know that they can do it without you. And that's a big transitional thing for adolescents. We have to change ourselves as parents at that time to let go increasingly, let them fly, let them make mistakes. Might be embarrassing to you and to them at times, but it's the steps that are necessary to create that independence. An antisocial mom or dad, whoever, somebody's antisocial. If you're not comfortable in groups, if you're not comfortable talking to your neighbor, if you isolate yourself and the family is everything, that's another factor that causes concern for helping kids to adjusting. Any type of unresolved business, issues back home and you're talking at the table about grandpa and grandma back home, or some type of tension that still exists where you were before, or with the neighbors across the street. If it's not dealt with, it just goes on and it complicates things so that there's a level of stress that comes. And eventually, if you've got a lot of those unresolved things, it just becomes your norm. And I guess it just has a knock-on effect. I won't make any generalizations because everybody deals with that differently also. But I like the fleeing mouse one because sometimes you just want to run away from it all. You don't want to deal with it. You can't. So these are the things that if you see these things in your child or in someone you care about, that's probably contributed to a problem, getting hooked somewhere in a problem of not resolving a change. So sometimes these are expressed, and sometimes you just have to guess that that's what the behavior looks like. So my son, when he's in bed with his headphones on, I don't want to talk, just leave me alone. It's his way of resolving the issue, and I just need to give him some space. But I need to come back to him and talk to him about what he's going through. But he, at that time, feels incredibly hopeless. It ruined my life. There's no way to get better. And teens especially, because they don't, today's everything, tomorrow, they're not living for tomorrow. A general sadness, a frequent crying, anxiety. I have written an article in the newsletter this week on anxiety. It's probably one of the biggest contributing and missed factors in our assessments of learning problems for kids. You can't really assess a learning problem properly until you deal with anxiety, because they're not fully functioning to be able to tell you what they know or don't know if they're stuck in anxiety. And so that's an important thing for us to remember as educators when we're dealing with kids. in consultation with teachers to find out what's going on. Is the kid experiencing, well, and that's the outgrowth of an adjustment disorder. Anxious, you're feeling insecure, foundation's been taken or changed, you know, you've been rattled and now you're clinging on to some things maybe that give that unique person a stability, more stability and to get through. And then they're, of course, not able to listen to the teacher very well to remember the things that you're being taught in math today. Headaches and stomachs, so the doctor and I here are talking a lot when kids keep presenting with ouch, out, this, that, don't feel well. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's just very somatic that they just don't feel well. There's something wrong. A lot of people would like to isolate from others when you're going through a hard time. Just rather keep it to myself. I would resolve it on myself. I would say most of us are slower to ask for help than not. Kids, when they start absenting school, oftentimes when we get the call that says, they're staying home today. Sometimes it's just, there is a legitimate breakdown of your system, and so you are more vulnerable to get colds and things. But other times it's just a psychological overwhelmness. I just can't deal with it. I've worked so hard and I've just come to the wall and I just can't go one more step. And so in consultation, sometimes you just say, yeah, the reality is, I'm just giving you a day off. And that's okay. Lots of changes in our food eating practices. We're working on the canteen, by the way. Joined the committee. Lots of sleep problems. In adolescence, the kids are telling me more and more that they're just hitting the wall. They're just exhausted. They just, there is so much going on and here, and there's so much going on inside them that I'm not surprised. They actually need more sleep instead of less, but they get less. Their sleep cycle would work better if we started at 10 o'clock instead of 7:30, mine or 2. And so, yeah, the developmental stage that they're in is oftentimes causing sleep disruptions and stuff. So you obviously end up feeling tired, loss of energy. We all have, there's a lot of coffee and tea drinkers here. If we don't get our fix in the morning, sometimes we're not so good. And kids need to figure out what their fix is. It doesn't need to be a drug of choice. It can be anything. It's something of routine, something of, that gives them the sense that they're okay and that they can start the day. So help your kids find out what that is and encourage them to practice it, put it into their routine so that in the morning when they start, they have something, midday they have something. Just remind them that to give them their own attaboys, attagirls, pat on the back for doing what they're doing. They're working really hard. And to teach them how to reward themselves instead of waiting for somebody else to praise them or give it. That's a wonderful gift to give them. Some kids will get into behavior that gets them in trouble. Sometimes that's the first notice that we get that they are having a problem. That they end up getting in a fight or an argument or something. They just burst, they can't contain it any longer, and it comes out in a crooked way. And it's like, oh, okay, so you've been stuck in a problem and you haven't been able to resolve it, and so now let's talk about it. I've added some extras. A lot of times we will see anger and things coming out that just doesn't seem to fit the situation. And so teachers will say, I don't understand where this came from, or I don't ever see this in a child, it just comes out. And you see it at home. Sometimes the kid's just really snappy with you, or, you're like, where's that coming from? And so we tend usually just to focus on that moment, or be behind that, there's a reason for it. And sometimes we just need to come back to that after a while and talk about that, what was going on then? And then they can reflect and see that. Or you can have them look at with something else. Maybe you're lonely for something. You're homesick about something. You miss something. You've been reminded of something that you really loved and you don't have it in your life anymore. Or you're just mad at dad and mom for moving you. Increased talking about death and safety. The security issues that kids have is really, really big. When their foundation has been shaken, we as adults, we have a practical mind that can say, okay, that's because of this and this, and we're going to do this, But the kids don't have that ability to walk themselves through that, to find the comfort about that. And so they're still relying on everything that you do to make sure that they're okay. And so my son was overcompensating. Dad, you have to leave in 10 minutes. You know, he started trying to take control of the environment increasingly so that he would feel better. And so it's important that we allow kids to talk about their insecurities, reassure them that Dad and Mom will make decisions in these things, you make decisions in these things, together we'll get through it. But to affirm them that it's happening and that it's normal is so helpful. And some kids do talk about it. They get caught in death because it's part of the grief thing. You're starting to realize that something in your life has died. An experience, letting go of something that you wanted. It's a death experience. And so you might talk about death, about an overreaction about my insect died, my pet insect, or my dog, or my fish, or something else. We get an overreaction because this other thing is unsettled yet. Loss of focus and sustained attention. And you'll see that homes, the teachers see it every day. It's necessary for kids to have quiet time to lose focus. We need to give them those opportunities to daydream and get lost in it and then pull them back to focus. We can't sustain our focus for very long. We know in education that we can only keep kids' attention like 13 minutes or something, then we're supposed to change it and do some body kinesthetics type stuff. But most of us don't practice it. We all know it, but teachers have it so difficult. No, we have to get this done, so no, we'll just keep working for 90 minutes. But kids will eventuate. They will let their needs be known in that situation so that the teachers will be reminded again and again that I need to give them a break, I need to change, they need to get up and move around. I tell the kids, if you have one like this, that needs that kinesthetic motion, is you want to talk to the teacher, you like to move around after, it's all right, after about 15 minutes, I just get up and go get a drink, something like that, so that you plan ahead. Negotiate with your teachers. Then sometimes I just need to go, can I just give you a sign like this? I just need to go for a walk, go get a drink, come back. Ask your kids, because it's helping them and it's themselves. If they know themselves and they're able to communicate that to an adult and negotiate for that, they feel so much better that they did it instead of you. And that they can control their environment somewhat by asking to get their needs met. Really important skill if you can pass it on to your kids to negotiate with the adults that are supervising them. Any type of anniversary will likely throw you or them back into memories of loss. So, birthdays are probably the most common thing that I think about coming from an American background. But any of those holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas and stuff, they're like, if I can only be back there then, because I have this wonderful memory of what it was like with my cousins and grandparents, and then again we'll take you to a place of maybe anger or isolation or something. You just need to be alone with your thoughts during that time. Appreciate those moments that are good memories. quickly just push them off the table and say, now we can go to the beach and this will, no, let them sit in that grief for a while to resolve it. It's okay. You moms and dads that are managing houses, and spouses, and lunches, and everything, there's so much you're doing, and so, I said that at the beginning of the talk, you guys don't often have enough time to reflect yourselves about what's going on in your life. You're just so busy keeping up, getting through each day, getting the food on the table, whatever. So it is difficult sometimes just to relax and sit back and allow people to be themselves and to reflect. You don't have to fix them, but we get in that mode that I think the more out of control the house gets, we feel like we have to fix it. And actually that's probably the opposite. We should probably step back, just let it happen so that it will come out further. People will talk about things, or people will make decisions, or people will do something that you don't have to do for them. We're going to move now to a paper activity. You might need to take a bathroom break. I'll set it down over there definitely. I'm going to give you a paper activity that you're going to spend a few minutes on looking at it. It's the cycle of a bit of reflection. I just get one of these per table. I've given you the paper just for your own suggestion, but I just want you to walk through this. I think if you are more aware of yourself, and that's why it is about you, this is really about kids. What you are thinking and feeling is probably very accurately of what your kids are also doing. Because they emulate your emotions, your actions, your style of doing things. They pattern themselves after you. So that's why I think what do you look like when you're going through some of this will be very telling about what you're seeing in your children. So that's my background goal of this one. So take a few minutes to immerse yourself in these questions, and you can make your own notes, or you can talk to one another, and you take a break if you need to. Let's do this for about 10 minutes. Is it all right if we go to about 9:30?
Yeah.
You need to leave.
They get fights from the
There are some that sometimes it's safer.
Yeah.
you. I'll let you have one if you want. I'm really asking you to reflect on how do you pay attention to your own body clock, your own needs? Do you know that, are you self-aware enough that you know when you're getting to your breaking point? You know, sometimes you need a friend or a spouse to say, hey, I need to chill.
Yeah.
So yeah, we all deal with our stresses differently. Our breaking points are totally different points. When I need to go to my room and lock myself in my room so I can not do what I might do, it's, you know, I just need to know that, how to take care of myself and protect my environment to keep it healthy. That's really what I was asking here, and it's very personal in some cases, but other times it's okay to talk about it. I'd like to go on. Would you like more time to talk about it in your tables? You okay with that? Let's go on, and we can come back to some of these things later. Okay, so most people have their breaking point, or it has to do with they're running out of energy. You're spent. You're overwhelmed. You got more to do than you can possibly do. So you end up complicating your life even further. Then you start having sleep problems besides, and it just gets worse and worse. It's a snowball. You might end up getting gastrointestinal problems, cravings. The irritability factor is certainly a big part of a warning sign for burnout. Lots of people go through bouts of depression as expat people coming to another place. It's very normal, and it's not of concern unless it's chronic, which means it's gone on for weeks and months. Yeah, you just don't, you're not attending to your own personal needs as much as you should. And other people may point it out. Avoidance and withdrawal, very common. We tend to pull back, not talk as much, not make phone calls to our friends as much. So this is, when you have some of these symptoms, that should be a warning. Beep, beep, beep. Take care of thyself, take care of thyself. Your actions, what you talk about, the words you use when you talk to your spouse or your friends about things, in the opportune moments for children to overhear them, are very significant. Because if they're in that insecure place, and you start talking about the fighting that's going on in Iraq, it just amplifies their insecurity. Resilience comes, this contrast is really helpful. If you frame your experiences as difficult as you may perceive them in that moment, or as hopeless as you think they are in that moment, it adds to the problem focus of it. And you get more inflexible. You have to end up having, I need to have my coffee at 7 in the morning. You know, you start creating patterns of rigidity for yourself. And just that, there's a negative spiral that happens in that. However, if you're able to take the very same situation and just reframe it as, this is a challenge for me. I'm going to do the best I can. Maybe something good is going to happen. I don't know. I'm going to, instead of doing this at this time, I'm going to go and meet a friend for tea at 9 o'clock. Introducing change in your own routines is so healthy. My mom used to like to change the furniture in the living room. My father would come, what? I want my chair right there. So things and we're going to grow from it. That develops resilience in you and with those that you're around. Reframing problems as opportunities. Big skill. We started talking about independence. It's a developmental process throughout school. In our school, in the PYP program, this happens much more so than in other systems. Early on, we are empowering kids to do everything that they can do for themselves. One of the biggest contrasts I see in teachers and parents is the different systems that go on where you're doing your best to do everything for your child, but actually you're doing too much for them. And you're depowering them, empowering. You're taking their opportunity to feel responsible away from them, to feel that they can manage, and instead that dependent relationship that we talked about. You feel good that you can do it for them, but they would feel much better if they did it for themselves. When we see parents bringing book bags and stuff in for kids, we're like, that's not good. In Qatar, parents didn't show up. There were just the maids that brought everything in. So we had programs for maids. I can't say enough about listening. We are tempted to be fixers as parents. So many times kids just need to talk about what's going on, the struggle they're having. And if you can just say, then they will probably say what they're going to do to take care of it.
At any age. At any age.
At any age. And then you're just guiding, it's like, oh, that's interesting. Or what do you think? Well, when are you going to do that? Do you think that's, what will that do for you, do you think? And they will talk, oh, maybe that won't fix it. Or you just let them say, okay, that's interesting. Maybe wait until tomorrow. Did that work? Let them find a way, and they will feel so much more confident themselves. And then you can, your job is just to say, good job. And then they will want to share more because they keep telling. They want to tell you about their success stories. If they just are presenting problems and you fix them, it creates the system again that's a negative one for their development. So yeah, developmentally you have to figure out the language and the responsibility that of how much you can let them roll out so that they, you don't want them to, when they're gonna, they're gonna make a bad decision that's gonna have a bad end. You need to pull that in before they allow them just to fail. But other times it's okay if they trip, if they're tripping along, making mistakes. It's okay. That's what we encourage them to go out and do. The more mistakes you make, the more growth you're gonna have. Your job is to know the resources in whatever environment you're in. Today we have more resources than ever before. Technology, of course, and more problems with it. Knowing who's in your community, in your neighborhood, make sure that you develop a network of, just as you would in your own home. Get to know some of your neighbors. Go and share a plant or a brownie or something. Incredible gifts come back to you in doing that. That you make smiles for sure. You might startle them that no one has ever done that before. So you're breaking up their systems as well. But it creates a really, really good ambiance for you and your family. Have them send the kids over next door to surprise them with something. Why are you doing this? What do you want from me? Find your comfort foods, your comfort places to visit, and make it part of your regular pattern to take care of yourself and everybody's well-being. Because there's so many challenges that you're dealing with all the time. that, okay, the homework routine and all, people are working. Make sure that in that system that you create, that there's many opportunities for downtime, reflection, enjoy something that each person finds helpful to restore themselves. Putting limits on things. You guys need to take your power back. Man, I've seen so many parents have given their power away to let their kids decide, and you're like, I don't want them to play computer, then I don't like them to watch TV, I don't want them to watch that TV show. It's not okay for them to make those decisions at early ages. Maybe when they're 17, 18, okay. I told my son things, I said, after you leave home, you can get your Xbox. I mean, you can't have it now. Yeah, so. Many times, the physical touch heals immensely. I see it in the classroom and I see it with families interacting. When a child presents to you, many times that hug will do more than anything that comes out of your mouth. Looks like you need a hug. And then go running off after the use of hug. Use that to your advantage. This voice obviously worked. Can we go now? We're living in a very, very incredible, wonderful time in history, I think. I'm so excited to be alive now and having seen and done the things I've done in my lifetime. The opportunities that our kids have right now is incredible. You know, and every year the opportunities change. What's going to happen next? Wow. So it's really difficult in education for us to be planning for careers because they don't exist right now. So, in general terms, rather than just allow it to go wherever it's going, use your experience from your childhood and your life and what you know works for you. The things that you value, keep them strong in your system. I think if you don't have a plan and you don't have a direction, it doesn't do anything to help your kids, I'll tell you that. They just get more unstable. But if you show them that you have a direction and you have strong values and you're not going to put up with that and you're always going to say that is not okay in my house, things like that, that gives them stability and a sense of well-being. So utilize your history of what's important to you. Keep bringing it back to the table and in the living room. Put your bar of expectation there and challenge them. Find and open new doors. Look for new opportunities to add freshness and difference to your life. You need to be filled with new energies all the time as well as they. This is my favorite picture I took in Qatar. This is called scaffolding. I don't know what they're going to build next, but this is the opportunity to build something else. And these are, I don't know if you can tell from back there, these are people. And what they're doing is they're passing up all of these pipes to keep adding on to the scaffolding. Sometimes you'll be feeling pretty alone in your decision making, in the stances you take. But do it anyway. you will always have opportunities for change. This is in Nepal. Have you been in Nepal? Have you done that? That's me. Yeah. Yeah, that's me. Let's go. You have so much power in your personhood to effect change. So just let it happen. Just be. That's the gift you're giving to your children more than anything. Okay, this is time for us to wrap up. There's some things that we didn't touch. I want to get to your point right away. So if you have some questions, we have time for that. You want to state your situation that you asked me about?
Yes. Last week, excuse me, I was really concerned about my son. My son is 11-year-old. He's not very well dealing with changes. For him, it's very rigid. No, I don't want. It's very rigid. So, but what scares me last week, he was struggling a little bit about all the homework. He's starting 6th grade, so it's so many things around, right? But it was freaked me out. So he says at some point where, well, we have to do this one. How about if we start to do this one? I cannot do everything one. Maybe it's my fault. I don't know. I said, I just want to kill myself. So can you imagine? I mean, if your children, some of your children, I want to kill myself. I was so like, no, how come you are saying that? But I don't want to, be like, let's say, over worry about, right? At the same time, I don't want to be just let it go, right? It's kind of situation that, I don't know, this is my first time that somebody who I love so much is telling me this. So I really don't know how to handle the situation. I just try to hug him, right? And say, no, how come? You all have people who loved you, we are around you, if you feel like this is what I actually need. But I exposed to you. In a situation like this, how you handle this? How you...
This is not uncommon in middle school years. You have middle school kids. This comment and this feeling and this thought is very common. And so some kids will verbalize it, others will just keep it in their head. We all think of death as an option sometimes, killing ourselves. All of us have thought of that sometime. And many of us immediately close that door and say, I don't want to live. But other kids will go down that route increasingly, or the ones that are stuck in transition will come back to it more frequently, talking and thinking about death as an option. When we get this type of comment, it's not about suicide. It's their language of saying, I just can't do it anymore. I'm burnt out. And so what we want to do is we want to give them other language to help explain their situation. And then what you could say, oh, so you're really feeling like you're spent. You're really feeling like you can't do one more thing. What do you need to do for yourself? What would you like to do to give yourself a break? Just engage them in conversation to give you the rest of the story. Because it's not about killing themselves. And that's a very rare situation that I'm even concerned about it. I hear it all the time about kids or teachers tell me that a comment's been made. It's a huge responsibility to have that information. That statement looming there, like you say, you don't want to dismiss it.
Yeah.
And so you take it seriously, and then you assess the situation. Well, what is it that has pushed you to the point to make that comment? And then let them know that it's okay to talk about it.
Yeah, I have been talking with him. I mean, I'm being like a rat, right? Like it's just monitoring him. like, asking, how do you feel then today? Did it feel better, or is this, not making like a big deal, because I really
Yeah.
don't want him to feel like, really, I don't even know if he really knows what does that mean, right?
When you're at that point, you
really
don't,
strong.
it's a telltale sign of, I am losing control of my environment, that I am overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And so it's really helpful to chunk their lives. Well, tell me about what your day looks like. Okay, in this class, what are you doing? Are you okay in there? Do you have to do something in there? Let's work together to make a schedule so that next week you feel like you're more in control of the week. What else is on your mind? Oh, I'm worried about the competition coming up in swimming or drama or, other things. And so just help them compartmentalize and say, okay, well, looks like we have some free time here. Let's check back in at that time and see how it's going and see what you want to do with that. That way they start to say, okay, well, I'm doing well here, I'm doing well here. As soon as they start saying, I'm okay down there, it's starting to ground them again. And I can manage. I will be able to get back in control. I'll be able to help. Thanks, Mom, for talking me through it. Give me a hug.
Yes, what I did. I mean, it was hard for me to not freak out. I mean, it was hard for me to maintain myself
Yeah.
because it was like a child.
Yeah.
That he was telling me this.
Yeah.
And you have heard so many stories about
Yes.
kids that kill themselves
Yeah.
that I just, oh my gosh,
Yep.
I didn't know what to do. I just tried to hug him and tried to control myself, but it was, I think on that every single day. I mean, I don't want to be dramatic, but I'm just, I want to be aware. That's all aware.
If you find out that the stress is coming from homework or too much work at school, make the bridge with the teachers to let them know that he's feeling overwhelmed. He might need a little bit of help in either understanding or, the teacher can differentiate and give a little bit less expectation, or to restate the challenge in ways that gives him an opportunity. He doesn't have to go this far, he only has to do this much. If the teacher knows that, they can really help get him back in a place of self-management. Because sometimes the assignments are very general on a project, and kids sometimes, overachievers especially, do way more than they should in this, and then they drop a few balls over here because they thought the teacher wanted this product. So it's a really good idea to share that with the teachers and just let them know that you're checking in behind the scenes and that he is feeling really overwhelmed right now. So they can check in better and reassure him that he's okay in classes. He's in
Sixth grade.
sixth grade.
Yeah, he's starting secondary school. So it's overwhelmed for him. I mean, all the management and all the emails that they have
I'll
to
tell you,
check.
the transition, to be in high school in sixth grade is a big deal. In an IB school, with this program here like that we have, it's a fast-paced program. As much as we think we're managing it properly developmentally, sometimes it's not. Teachers every once in a while think, oh my gosh, 3 of us have assigned an assessment on the same day, and that's really stressful. And because they're not able to confer with one another as to what they're doing, it just happens sometimes. You get the collision of stuff, and so then the kids are feeling really stressed. And the teacher's like, oh, okay, I can pull back my assessment and keep it on another day. So again, if you teach kids self-advocacy, if they're able to say to their teacher, I'm feeling like this is really too much for me, can we make a different day on that because I have these 2 assessments already? Then that helps the teachers know what's going on in the bigger picture.
And I have to add another thing. I mean, this is another thing that, as you were saying, we as a parent, we have a really big role in that. Because I tend to be a person who is very, how do you say, you have to do this one, you have to be responsible for this one, you have to do this one, right? And I realized that he's stressed with that too. So, and if he's
So you can
stressed,
add to it.
yes.
Yeah.
So if he's stressed with the school and stressed, because I am telling him what happened today, did you do the homework? Did you do this one? You tend to, them to be responsible.
Yeah.
But you were saying something true. Sometimes they have to, and I'm reading a book about this one, it says, make mistakes. And if they don't present assignment today, whose fault is that? No, it's not mommy who's telling them, okay, you have to do this one. Every single day you have to do this one. Might be overwhelming for them.
Yeah.
And it will be better for him just to learn that if he didn't do it in this moment, he would do it the next one.
Yeah.
Because he learned that.
Allowing kids to have those moments of falling down at school is okay. It's better in a stressful situation for you, instead of planning to try to prop him up at home about school, is to do something enjoyable and relaxing at home with the family. So that when he does come back to school, he has more energy to focus on school. If you also become another teacher at home, it just adds to the stress and pressure of his system. It's like, oh, teachers are let down, now you're let down too. And now, yeah. And kids need their parents to be proud of them for what they are doing, not what they're not doing. My son still asks me, Dad, are you proud of me? 24 in grade school. Dad, am I doing okay? But I'm so lucky. He calls me and says, Dad, I'm so happy. I just want to tell you I'm so happy. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Other comments, questions of what we've done today?
I want to ask, just with our kids, we lost my husband's mom 3 weeks ago. And just with how generally kids deal with these things. So obviously the first day, as we told them, they broke down and we talked about it for about an hour. And then we flew and that day. And literally, from there they're like, oh, this is boring, or that's boring, or, they're kind of, now they've dealt with their stuff. Now can we go and do the fun stuff with our family while they're trying to deal with all that kind of stuff. And they are still talking, they do talk about her and, about, how Dad's feeling and all of that. But they seem to be over it. Do you think that's...
You seem to be over it?
Yeah, they kind of...
Well, our kids are like in a candy store. They've got the best of everything. They're like, what else? I've had all these sweets. We have so many good things in their life, and when kids say they're bored, it usually means that they're so happy they don't know what else to do. And what else can stimulate and excite their brains because they've had so much. So I don't know if that relates to your situation.
More is there's no questions that like they would deal with death and then it's done.
Yeah.
Is that right? It's not that you should be looking for other signs or that they might be.
To get more out of the experience, you mean?
No, well, just that they're not still sad or something like that.
Okay, bye-bye. Thanks.
That's there's.
I think are you wondering like so they dealt with it, right?
How did they dealt with it?
Right, how they dealt with it, or like later on
Yeah.
have what you might see signed, what they might be doing with the
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Maybe
Like, should I be asking questions?
Should you be probing more to?
Yeah, or just leave
To
it
get more out
because
of
they
it?
seem fun and they do talk about it. But it's just something obviously
Yeah,
because we've been here for 6 weeks and we go back and now we've been with family for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And come back. If it's more that we should be talking about with them and leave the, because there are obviously adjustment things that we're going through now on this next trip. It's my son, not my daughter. That's swapped
Yeah.
around this time. So.
Yeah, that book called How to Listen So My Kids Will Talk. Is a really good one.
Thank you.
How to talk so my kids will listen. How to listen so my kids will
Will
How to
listen.
talk so my kids will listen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've got it, yeah.
It's a very good book, I read it.
It's a very good one, yes. So I think that's the trick, is
Yeah.
is glossing over about everything's boring, blah, blah, blah. Let it be boring, you know?
Yes, I read that one in one of the, it says, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I really read it, says, sometimes, we as a parent try to entertain them. We have to put in away, for example, from electronics or things like that. It's my, so I always, okay, here is this one, the Legos, you can, and I read it says, you know what? I am boring, mommy. It is okay to be bored. It is okay to be bored. So look yourself. What is around to be? And he comes to create stuff by himself, either drawing or building Legos or anything. But you don't have to, what I read about, you don't have to solve them. And if it's bored, it's okay to go and create.
Or go and sit and look at nature and
Yes.
just have a downtime.
Exactly.
What else?
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. Okay, great. Was this useful for you today? My next talk, maybe next month, is going to be about how discipline, bringing discipline in now, maybe following consistency a little bit with how we discipline in school. So if that topic's interest you, watch for that.
I ask a question, so you have a list of signs that they're struggling with, whatever. Some of them are very common, they might go through them short
Yeah.
period and they work through them.
Yeah.
And what if they're stuck on one, how do you know when it might be serious, where it's not maybe something that you're not able to help them with, or they're not working through it, that you might need someone else to help or to come have
Thanks
a
for
talk
bringing
to
that
you?
back. I think that's the
That's
biggest.
where I think I would struggle.
Yeah.
A lot of them, my kids have done some of them and then over some of them, but there's others that they're still dealing with, and it's normal. But when do you know that it's like, okay, this is not working, this is not.
Well, you said it for me. Most of those signs are supposed to give you the sense that it's normal. It's normal to be going through these, to have these experiences as you are adjusting to change. When it becomes a concern, it's when it doesn't pass and it doesn't go to something else. If you get stuck in any of those, or some of those, that means the person needs some help to move to the next transitional stage. So any of those disturbances or whatever are pretty normal reactions to a stressor. The overwhelming portion, if several of them are happening at once, it can be overwhelming. And sometimes just sitting down, well, one session with the counselor sometimes is a great help to kids that to just say, just be told by someone else, you're doing okay.
Well, someone else also, not their parents, because I think that sometimes helps because they hear it from us all the time, it'll be okay, and they may not believe you because it's not okay yet. So
It's
that's.
wonderful if the whole family can come in here at the same time.
And then my other question is, you said that it's very common in middle years to hear kids say, I want to kill myself. Primary years, what would be something that they might say where you're like, it's so.
So we're likely to say, I hate you. Because it's more about you than them. That's
Right.
She doesn't pay attention.
Thanks for coming. The other kids that are in a desperate place will just be disregarding all the rules. They will bring attention to themselves, maybe subconsciously, by getting into a fight, doing something that they know will break the rules, but will get attention and get them to a place to be able to get help.
Do you ever run any courses for children that are leaving, or I'm thinking more of leaving, but
We do.
yeah.
As you're probably aware, all new kids that come to me in small groups to talk about their transition.
Okay.
And as kids prepare to leave, I also meet with those kids to talk about what it's like, and we do, that's why we had a transitional meeting at the end of last year to talk about, it was more focused on moving away.
Right.
So, yeah, it's really helpful to talk to the kids about these things. And the teachers, most of them are pretty good about doing some type of a ritual in the classroom
Yeah.
to celebrate the time that kids have been in.
It's also with this kind of thing that I found with SNE that kids' friends in South Africa battled a lot. Kind of the matter before my kids left, you know, their parents were saying they're devastated they can't even handle my work absolutely fun. And obviously 2 weeks into being there, suddenly it wasn't fun anymore, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also the people leaving behind, I think. And there's so many other people and other things that affect
Yeah.
or are affected.
Yeah, I would like to say that there are certain children are leaving in December in 5th grade, and then the existing ones are going to stay out.
Ones that stay behind.
Yeah, they
Yes.
they're
Absolutely.
upset right now, because they say,
Yeah.
no, we're crying because so-and-so is leaving, he's
Yeah.
crying, and it made us cry. And so I think it's better to have something for the existing kids as well, you know,
Yes.
not only the ones who are
Yeah.
leaving.
You're going to be so busy.
You can be sure.
But
It's very receptive. We have been focusing a lot on that actually. When I go in, I do class meetings with the kids,
that's
with
right.
every class.
Yes.
And so we sit and we talk about things like that. So we talk about what is it like for you to be
Yes.
again saying goodbye to friends that are coming and going and coming and going.
Exactly, exactly. Yes.
So yeah, and I get the same feedback from teachers, fellow colleagues, like, oh, I don't even know if I want to get to know you because I have to say goodbye to you. You know?
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes you're like, hey, they're going to